Hello and welcome to today's Coaching Crowd podcast with me, Jo Wheatley, and my friend and co-host, Zoe Hawkins.
Hi, everybody. Great to be back with another episode. And this week we're talking about coaching confidence. And this was a topic raised by Celia Brown in our Coaching Crowd group, who was asking just for some insights and ideas around how you'd approach this topic in a coaching conversation. So we thought we would give some time and space to do that. So where would you kick off, Jo?
Well, confidence comes up a lot in coaching, and when people qualify as coaches or training as coaches, they're often thinking about, oh, what niche will I specialize in? Shall I be a confidence coach? That's a natural first place for people to come to. And I kind of notice our reaction. We're like, oh, confidence. And I think the reason for that is that as experienced coaches, it's that knowledge that we don't coach the issue, we coach the person. And so when somebody comes, often people will say, I'm not a confident person. And that's an indicator to us that, there's an identity piece here. Or somebody will come along and say, I don't feel confident. And then we think, with anything? Are you confident to drive your car? And then they'll say, yeah, I'm confident to drive my car. Okay, so we're helping to break down what confidence is. I think that's our starting place, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think about the word confidence, it doesn't mean anything, does it? Like, what my experience of what it is to have or not have confidence will be very different to the experience you have in having or not having confidence. And the place that I start is understanding what's my client's experience of confidence or not confidence. And do they have boundaries around where they are feeling and experiencing confidence and where they are not? Or is it just one big blurry mess of not confidence? And of course, as you sort of introduced at the start there, we can hold identities around ourselves as having or not having confidence that's maybe even been inherited by people. I can remember a story of somebody coming for a job interview, and I was part of the interview panel, and there were some other people. And they said, oh, I think this person just lacks confidence. And it's like, well, what are you seeing that is leading you to make that conclusion? And they didn't appoint, and they were going to go back with the feedback of, you need to be more confident. And I was thinking that person has probably been handed that feedback time and time and time again, and it becomes a reality. So I think it's about breaking down well, do you actually lack confidence, or have you accepted that you lack confidence because that's become the story? And often it's, as a child, you can be shy, you can be introverted, you can be not wanting to come forward and put yourself at the center of attention, and that at that point can get labeled as not confident. So you then grow up with this, she's not a confident child, or he lacks confidence. And so you can just start to own it and take it on. So that deconstructing in the first instance around what is and what is not confidence, I think, is a really important part of the work that you would do in working with that client.
Yeah. And you might also want them to explore with them, what does it feel like when you feel confident? Where do you experience that in your body? What other emotions are triggered when you feel confident? You might want to look at the sequence of emotions. So what do you feel normally before you feel confident? What do you then feel after you've felt confident? Do you maybe get like a hangover of doubt after you've felt confident? Is there guilt that comes in? And what are the beliefs that are related to that? And essentially that comes down to, when is it safe for you to feel confident? Do you believe that you can access confidence at any time? You might work with your client around how they can anchor in that feeling of confidence. It might be that confidence is related to them comparing themselves to others. I think most human beings can relate to that at different times in your life, or maybe regularly, you reference yourself to others. It's part of your work with the coachee. Might be about helping them to shift from that kind of fully external referencing, that comparison to other people and their set to impact their self-esteem, to actually that internal referencing. So there's so many different ways you can work with confidence.
I like to introduce clients to that concept of comfort, stretch, and panic. So obviously you have a comfort zone. That's where you can do things with your eyes closed. That's your everyday thing. And generally in the comfort zone, people are going to have a sensation of confidence. And then you have your stretch zone. This is where things are new to you. There may be uncertainty. There may be ambiguity. It's the zone of learning and creation. And beyond that is the panic zone, where something feels so far out that it's just filling you with fear and dread. And I think it is almost a societal expectation that you have confidence, like it's some kind of like offer and given an expectation that you need to navigate life with full confidence at all times, which is obviously a pretty silly expectation to hold, because when we're in that stretch zone, I would say it's a fairly universal experience of all people at some point in their life to feel like they lack confidence in whatever feelings that might bring up for them. And so normalizing this sensation of not being or feeling or experiencing confidence is really important, because when you're in that stretch zone and things are uncertain, you're learning new things, of course, like to me, it's obvious that you're not going to feel confident because you aren't relying on all the same resources and skills and strategies that you have had within your comfort zone. You're having to build new strategies and learn new ways of being and experiencing the world. So I think if we start to accept that a lack of confidence actually is a universal experience, you're not weird because you lack confidence. It's just something that you are working through and learning. It's like there's no other side. It's like, I don't have confidence. What therefore what? That you never will. And it's one of those, I don't know, is it a skill? Is it emotion that I think people see as static? Like I either have it or I don't. And if I don't, I can't grow it, which is, which we know as coaches isn't the case. And I think helping clients to learn some of that actually can be liberating.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset in a nutshell. We were talking earlier as well, before the podcast, about, I was saying, confidence is one of those things that people are asked to fake. Like, just fake it, just pretend that you're confident. And then was reflecting on, do we get asked to fake other emotions? And I've been sat here thinking, I think actually, as parents, sometimes really we're trying to get our children to almost fake being sorry.
Yes, that's true.
Because we then feel better. So to what extent is that demand for confidence at all times actually to make other people feel better? Because if you are confident, I don't need to be there to support you. I can concentrate on myself. So then we start to look at more at what we are doing really is kind of developing this conversation and looking at that broader system. How is it that we have created the environment where we can feel inadequate if we don't feel confident at all times?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a broad conversation, isn't it? And the reality is, though, when clients come with the topic of confidence, they want to do something about it. Like that's why they come into coaching. And so I think the first starting point is acknowledging that you can, as coaches, we can successfully work with clients to help them to build their confidence in the aspects of life that they want to. And I think there is this piece around what is situational confidence and what is systemic confidence. And situational confidence might be, I don't like presenting to the board. Like every time I have to present to the board, I fumble my words, I break out in a sweat. I don't want that. I want to be able to present with impact. That would be a kind of situational. Then the systemic kind of confidence, actually, you might be faking it brilliantly, walking into those board meetings, presenting with confidence, leading with impact, managing the team, having challenging conversations, setting bold goals. But afterwards, you're questioning yourself. Did I say the right thing? Oh my gosh, like, what do people think of me? So that internal, which I call inner confidence, really. So that the other part is the external, it's the inner confidence, I think, is where coaching really has a sweet spot to be able to help people. And the work that you would do with your clients would probably center around things like helping the client to understand their values, which are essentially their needs. So what are their needs, and how are they honoring and meeting those needs? What internal conflicts might be at play? It might be about their beliefs, like what do they believe about themselves, which is leading to and influencing their experience of confidence. It may also be about helping them to look at the sort of the dynamics of different relationships that they have from a transaction analysis perspective around parent, adult, and child. Like, how much time are they spending in their adult? Because when you talk about a lack of confidence, typically people might be coming from their child, and feeling inferior or less than in some way. So how can we help people to connect and grow their adult and step into that space?
Yeah, that differentiation between inner and outer confidence, I think, is worth acknowledging and discussing with your client to establish, is this presenting itself in both of these scenarios? Is it just the inner dialogue that you want to work on because it's exhausting you and it's distracting you? Or are you able to have that, but in the moment where you've got to act in that moment, you kind of feel like you're falling apart? I work with lots of CEOs and those on a CEO pathway, and they will share that they feel scared about a board meeting that's coming up, perhaps because the organization hasn't hit the targets that that it had said that it was going to meet, or that it's a big meeting, there's lots of people and there are people in there that they don't know, all sorts of things. But what I find often happens is the lack of confidence can come from not feeling equal. I am not equal in some way, and therefore kind of metaphorically reducing the size of themselves down to tiny little figurine, if you like, and imagining that these other people are taking up all of that physical space. So it's, can be like where we start to play small. When we start to think about, okay, what does success look like for me in this situation? That can really help to just ground people into, okay, let's just pick one thing and we can work with them around making sure that that goal is what we call well-formed. So they're pretty much guaranteed to achieve it. So we refine it for them. And then all of a sudden, they don't feel like they're stepping into somebody else's territory where, they had, without thinking about it, they were going to go into a meeting and they hadn't really thought about what success looked like. It was just a case of let's get through it to the other end. And then when they started to think about it, they thought, actually, for me to feel confident about this, it would be that the other people leave the meeting feeling a certain way. And of course, you can't control that. So taking back the control, what am I in control of that I can do? So I can therefore feel confident about this meeting. Can make a huge difference to confidence. And when they come out, they're like, okay, yes, these were the discussions and that we had some rigorous debates. I feel confident that I wanted to achieve that from the meeting, and I did. And it was within my control to do that. So I think that's another lens on confidence, is that control. What can you control? What can you influence? And what can you neither control or influence?
Yeah. And you talk there about confidence coming from equality. I think another place where confidence or lack of can show up is around clarity. So clarity, I think, is massively underrated. Like, when you're clear about what you want, what you need, where you're going, what you want your life to look at, what your plans are, that can give a real sense of, great, now I know I can go after it with confidence. But when you don't know, that can be really unsettling. And so actually, you may be working with your client around confidence, but if you were to help them gain clarity, they may be able to tap in to those resources, those internal resources that they have around confidence. So, that, I suppose what we're saying is helping your client to understand, where does their experience of a lack of confidence come from? Like, what is driving it? Because confidence may be the thing itself, but it may not be the thing itself. What is it that is leading that client to identify as not having confidence. And actually you coach on that topic, perhaps as the primary place, as opposed to just going in with the confidence in the first place.
Yeah, and that clarity can come from them actually just kind of noting down, I know I feel confident in whatever scenario it is that they want to feel confident in when I do what. So just really focusing in and thinking, okay, so I will know I have confidence in this situation when my breathing is evenly paced. I will know I have confidence in this situation when, and all of a sudden they start to get that clarity. But it might also be what's that. So that's the destination, if you like. Where are they coming from? So I know I don't have confidence when I do X, Y, and Z. But with that confidence, and they're thinking about, okay, so what is that gap between those two places? Sometimes it's the capability. And once they've got the capability, so that they know they've kind of got the evidence that they can do something, the confidence will come. It's not always belief. Sometimes it is those kind of more simple strategies that's what they need.
I think confidence also can come from learning different strategies. So I think one that worked for me was around detaching from the outcome. So in business, you can set all sorts of goals, but actually you're not really in control of a lot of them. You're in control of the actions that you take, but you're not in control of how much you turn over, or, how many sales you might make of a new program that you're launching. And so and this probably comes back to what you were saying around control and influence. If you put all your focus onto results that you can't control, that is naturally going to raise up gremlins around fear of failure or not being good enough. Whereas if you can focus on the actions that you take over and above the outcomes that you're expecting or hoping to gain, then you can stay focused and present on what you're doing. And what that might look like is, okay, so in order to achieve X amount of turnover in my business, I'm not in control of that, but I am in control of emailing my list every single week, or I am in control of, inviting people to join me in a masterclass once a quarter. Like, you have to focus on the activities that will drive the results, not on the results themselves. And I think it's your unconscious mind knows that. So when you're focused on something that is outside of your control, it sort of sends this alarm bell off of like, well, gosh, well, what if we don't make it? Like, then what? And that like wakens up those inner gremlins. And yeah, so detaching from the outcome was, a really big one for me.
I think secondary gain sometimes has a role here as well. So what we mean by secondary gain is, so somebody comes to coaching and they say, this is how I am. I don't want to be this way anymore. I want to be a different way, and I want to learn more about myself and how I can overcome that. When we start to explore, what are you getting from the behavior that you don't want to do that is valuable to you? We can then help them to find healthier ways to meet that same need. So for example, if you don't have confidence, what do you have? So the individual might say, well, I have doubt, and I have shame, and etc., etc. Okay, so what does that get for you that is positive, despite the fact that it limits you in a number of ways? And it might be that the person says, actually, I've just realized I get loads of support. How valuable is that to you? Well, I love working with others. I always have done. I love that feeling of being in it together. Okay, how can you meet that same need whilst also being confident? And all of a sudden, that reframe for the individual might help to be part of the breakthrough. So, when we continue doing something we don't like, there is a reason. We are getting something positive from it. So that can help people kind of decode their own behavior and work out healthier strategies for them.
Yeah.
So we've talked about lots of different things, haven't we, today?
Yeah, absolutely. And, confidence, I think, is one of those things that if you are pushing yourself hard and you are setting ambitious goals and you're a go-getter, you're going to experience a lack of confidence at some point. So it, in many ways, confidence or lack thereof is a universal experience, and something as a coach you will come across. And there's lots of different angles through which you can support your clients on their journey to experience and feel and maybe identify with having more confidence.
And I think I would finish off today by saying I am certainly one of those people that in my younger years would not have described myself as a confident person. And I can sit here today and I can say I do feel like a confident person. And there are times when I don't feel as confident, different levels of confidence. But what I have is self-assurance. I have self-assurance that I have the resources to be able to achieve whatever I put my mind to. And for me, my own personal journey with having coaching, that's been a huge reward for me, and something that I'm then able to kind of share or inspire other people with. And if you're starting out as a coach, we thought as we were preparing for this episode, we ought to do an episode on how to build your confidence as a coach. So watch out for that episode that we will record and share with you soon.
Yeah. So if you've enjoyed today, tune into future podcasts. And there's a number of ways that you can work with us. You might like to read our book, Deciding to Coach, which is available on Amazon. You might like to do our quiz, which will help you to identify with which coaching course is right for you. You can do that at mycoachingcourse.com. You might like to check out our website, where we've got our courses in detail laid out on there. And you can do that at www.igcompany.co.uk. Okay. Oh, let's stop Zoom.